Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to the Elder Scrolls of Guild and Coin. Um, we are all here and ready to do some more,
Ready to rumble.
more murder, kill. Today I am joined by Raven as Julinak the Dirty Dancer.
Hey, what's up?
Joined by Thurman as Ajanti.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
We're joined by Haley as Zoe Meowstrom.
Me.
We're joined by Brenna as Amrit.
Hello again.
And we're joined by Irish Bob, our murder machine, Zira.
Yo.
So, and then of course I am yours truly, DragonEssence, the dungeon master. So, where we left off, you guys had managed to save Lyra and Eugene. However, that came at great cost. Lilith had sacrificed her life in order to save her daughter. And
Let's
while
have a moment of silence for Lilith. Okay, I think we're good.
For those of you who might have missed the last session, Pierre is safe. Pierre is alive and well, though a little sad. And Pierre is now in the care of Lyra. Before Lyra and Eugene take off for Daggerfall, up in the unfinished dolmen kind of area, Ashanti and Zoe, you guys had kind of stayed up, kind of both to keep watch over the dolmen to make sure that nobody, no more cultists show up to kind of cause an ambush or anything, but also to kind of make use of the area to see if you could scavenge for some materials. I'd like to know what you guys are doing while the rest of the party is currently slashing their way through a ruin.
I would like to, I guess, just keep an eye out and hide in the shadows. And if anyone pops out their head that doesn't look friendly, I'm gonna just throw a dagger in their eye.
Okay.
Like right between the eyes.
So as you're doing that, you're there's not really anyone showing up at all. You do occasionally find here and there like a little centipede kind of crawling by, a few bugs.
Ooh, snacks.
Yeah. So you pick them up, you munch on them, maybe save a few. And Zoe, are you scrounging for anything, or also kind of keeping to the shadows and keeping watch?
This is a perfect opportunity to sit in the open and read a book.
Okay, so are you
nerd?
Are you reading one of your books, or are you reading one of the books that the cultists had on them?
One that the cultists had on them.
Okay. So you scrounge through one of the cultists, and you find a copy of a book. It looks like it's fairly well worn. And you're actually kind of surprised that your companions didn't find this one, because they have the other volume in this series. You find a copy of The Lusty Argonian Maid, Volume 1.
I'm sorry, could you repeat
that? It's a copy of The Lusty Argonian Maid, Volume 1.
Special edition.
And it's part of the best-selling series that many people tend to really enjoy throughout Tamriel. In fact, in your time as an urchin, you've seen various plays also perform, also adapted from this series. And they were always seen as a source of comedy and stuff like that. Some people, as is always going to happen with stuff that are kind of stuff that's like laden with innuendo. Like there were some people who occasionally took it too far, but it's a story. It's a story you've read over and over and over again, or seen performed over and over and over again, so you know exactly how it starts, goes, and ends. You do find, however, another book amongst the stash that these cultists had.
Yeah, I'll just slip the first book in my bag as a bargaining chip, a bribe for something else.
There you go. You find a copy of it's a very well bound book. It's bound in leather, and it's got some really beautiful illustrations in it. A lot of it is in dark elf style, and the title is Narcissus Dren and the Lost Notebook.
Why would a notebook being lost be so important?
That is the most cat question to ask.
Like, oh man.
So you start reading it, and you find that it's a harrowing tale of adventure, of this dark elf adventurer plunging into ruins and the like to find an ancient set of notes that were of historical and archaeological value. But as you're reading it, go ahead and make an insight check.
Oh, a man after Emery's own heart.
Still there?
11.
11? This is one of the best adventure stories you have ever read. Like, it's incredibly inspiring, even within the first chapter, because you have enough time to read a couple of chapters. Even within the first chapter, like, you're already a fan of Narcissus Dren. Like, you find yourself becoming a bit of a fanboy for this guy.
Maybe if I get famous enough, people will search after my notes too. The ones like my grocery list and stuff. Oh, they'll be so disappointed when they get them.
Now you gain a proficiency in sewing, so you can make your own cosplay.
Yeah, and like we're talking some Indiana Jones level stuff, like Indiana Jones and the like we're looking at like Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of stuff. So
I'm gonna be over here squeeing.
So after a bit, you guys see the portal at the base of the valley open up again, and some people filter out. The first one you see is a Khajiit. He's kind of wearing some leathers. He's got some blades strapped to strategic areas where he can easily grab them, stuff like that. An orc woman comes out. She's also wearing some armor and wielding a axe. They're followed up by a young girl, probably in her late teens, early 20s. Looks like you recognize her from the Psijic projection when Lilith was first contacted. But now without the weird magical overlay, you can get a better view of her features. She very much so looks like a dark elf. However, you notice that the tips of her ears are a lot less pronounced. Her eyes are not the typical red; they're more of a violet, and her skin is a little paler than most dark elves would be. And then following her up is, and Zoe, your heart soars when you see this. a young red guard man, his dreadlocked hair pulled back so as to not fall in his eyes, and he's wearing simple leathers with a dagger at his hip, and he's now also he now also has the two chitinous scimitars that Zira used to have. And when he sees you, Zoe, he smiles and runs and pulls you up into a hug.
I'm gonna jump on him.
Like a cat.
Really get those claws on there so I can get on his shoulders and start like looking his whole face, being like, ah!
He smiles and he's like, I missed you too. I missed you too, you little furball. And the rest
give you chin scratches. Chin scratch.
I can picture Zoe just purring loudly.
The dreadlocks are for extra grab, but no hurt.
Starts making biscuits on him.
Hey, I don't try to hurt you when I grab you by the neck.
Biscuits.
And then you guys start seeing your party come through the portal. First Zira, then Amrit, then Julinak. And then you're waiting and waiting, and then the portal closes. And Lilith is still not there.
I want to state that I'd be so happy to see Eugen that I wouldn't even notice about who else came through the portal.
Okay.
Where's the other one?
Well, Lilith didn't make it. She sacrificed her own life for her daughter. So, yeah.
Well, that's not the ending I wanted. Alright.
Amrit is just quietly changing out of his cultist robes.
Zira's glaring at him.
Ignoring you.
Well, Lilith is in a better place now, I suppose. May the void take her.
Yeah, it's instead of going to any afterlife. Nope, just to the void.
No, to the void.
Yeah.
That's the best one.
Aw, come on. But yeah, like, you guys all know her daughter, so we're gonna take her over to her home.
There's a bit of debate that goes on for a bit, and ultimately it's agreed to send Eugen and Lyra to Daggerfall. That way, Lyra can get to Daggerfall safely and in one piece. Not that she wouldn't have some protection from Sarathadar or from Pierre, but
Yeah.
like Zyra's and Zoe's trust in Eugen is implicit. So they begin to take off, and you guys begin your journey further northeast to Orsinium. You follow along the main road for a few days and eventually break camp. Everyone has a bit of a rest. Everybody's making sure that Ajanti isn't the one cooking dinner.
You can't stop me, motherfuckers.
I can cook this time.
Dinner. You're not cooking dinner for everybody else.
You're gonna eat this garbage, you're gonna like it.
I can cook this time. I'm actually a good cook.
I'd trust Pierre to cook than I would Ajanti. And Pierre is a tiny crab with a top hat and a monocle.
Well, I trust him too, to be quite honest. Like, he probably, mixing a little spice and, with a monocle too, he gotta be smart.
Oh, would you like some caviar?
Would you like a croissant?
So then you guys begin to settle in for the night. If you'd like to do any foraging or scrounging for materials, this would definitely be a good opportunity to do so.
Me.
I want to
Okay.
look for anything that could be of value, like a gem or something.
Okay.
Just littering the
I
dirt.
will also scrounge.
Okay. So I'll start with Amrit. You head out to start looking. What items in particular are you looking for? Are you looking for like runes, or looking for little veins in the countryside to mine ore from? Are you looking for alchemical components?
I'm looking for runes and alchemical components.
Okay. I would like you to go ahead and make for me it'll probably be two different rolls. I'll start with the alchemical components. Go ahead and make a nature or survival check for me.
Okay. That would be a 13.
Okay. So you go rummaging through the forest, and you do manage to find a few things. You find it's kind of like a gnarled, thorny bush with yellow flowers, which from your time as an alchemist, you easily recognize it as dragon thorn. And like, you already know that what this does, as its basic effect in potions, is it allows people to become a little bit more skillful with their weapons.
Oh, okay. How much of that do I gather?
You find 8 usable blossoms.
Nice.
You also stumble across the carcass of a deer. Like, it was likely it likely had been killed by wolves or something. And crawling around on this deer, you also find that there are maggots crawling through it, trying to eat the dead flesh and whatnot. And you know that these maggots, the they're the larvae of flesh flies. So you're able to pick up a couple of decent sized maggots, and you know that the effects that they bring, the basic effect they bring to your potions, is that they can cause people to become more fatigued. So like, useful for poisons, but also for potions that you can slip into people's drinks and stuff like that.
Excellent. How many of those do I get?
A couple of them, like about 2 decent sized maggots.
Okay.
And then go ahead and do an Arcana or History check for me, for the runes.
Oh, okay. Well, roll out a flat surface. That would be a 22.
Very nice. So from your own studies on the history of Hrothgar, you know that Orsinium in this, Orsinium here in Hrothgar, that the Orsinium you're headed to is just the newest of a series of Orsiniums that have been built, invaded, and razed, and then built again, and then invaded and razed. It's one of those hallmarks of Orsimer history, is that the moment they start beginning to reach the height of their power, something happens and they lose it. And it's just this cycle that has been repeating ever since Malakath became the Daedric Prince of the Orcs. So among the mountainsides and stuff like that, you see bits of what used to be an old offshoot of Orsinium. And as you're there, you find an essence rune, and you're able to carve it out of the little casing it's in. And you don't recognize it right away, But when you go to start working on enchanting, you can learn the different rune names. And then you also find an aspect rune of a quality you've never seen before. It's definitely of a high, it's very high quality, not just because of how intact it is, but because of the magic you feel emanating from it. And again, you'd have to work with it in order to try to learn what it is, or otherwise find somebody to appraise it.
Okay.
And then you also find another rune that you do recognize, Porade, Porade. And you know that it's an additive rune for kind of increasing the potency of your enchantments. And while it's not the highest quality kind of glyph you'd be able to make, it would be able to make an inferior glyph of some kind.
Okay.
Okay. Who else is scavenging/scrounging?
This guy is. This big old lizard is. Ooh.
Alright, so what are you scrounging and looking for?
There are dead bodies littered here, yeah?
You guys are on the road, so, like...
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess
On the
cooking
road
supplies.
again.
Cooking supplies, like alchemical components, or just, like...
No cooking supplies to eat
Okay.
for tonight.
Alright, let's see here. Where did I put it? The one reference sheet that I forgot to bring out. Go figure. There it is. Gimme my stack of papers. There we go. So I'd like you to go ahead and make a nature or survival check.
Got it. $17.
Okay. So as you're scrounging, you find as I go through and roll my own stuff for you, you come across a little pool of water in the river that's kind of been running through the province, and you do what any sensible Argonian would do, and you jump in. You swim through, having no problem with scrounging around the bottom of the river since you can breathe water. And you actually find a decent amount of freshwater seaweed.
Excellent. I'll use this.
Yeah.
But not in the way you think. It's a surprise.
Yeah.
You'll see.
You also, after a while, you find an old abandoned camp, and you find some dried ginger in one of the bags that were left behind.
Very good. I'll use this as well. Again, not as you think.
Along with some preserved corn and some dried apples.
Good.
Yeah.
This will do great. Seaweed apple stew coming up.
Please don't.
While you're at that abandoned camp, I would like you to go ahead and do a perception check for me.
Okie dokie. Another 17.
Nice. So... Whoop. You find a small piece of paper, and on it is a handwritten recipe. And as you read through it, you find that you have learned the recipe for a rabbit pasty.
Yummy.
You got some
Pasties.
So you know that if you were able to get a hold of some fairly basic ingredients, like if you were to hunt down a rabbit and get a hold of some flour, a few spices here and there and whatnot, you'd be able to easily make this dish.
Excellent. Yeah, I guess I'll start working on that for tonight's dinner then.
Okay. I'll go ahead and say that you easily hunt a rabbit, and you probably already have a little bit of flour in your pack. So.
Yeah.
A different kind of flour.
Not cooking flour. No. That's for scrubs. Like actual. Well, less flowers, more weeds.
Just that thickness.
That's right.
Anybody else scratching?
I want to look for anything of value.
Okay. You're roaming through the forest a bit, kind of just keeping an eye out for anything that might sparkle or glitter. And eventually you kind of get to the base of a rocky outcropping, and you kind of stop to take a sip of water from your flask, and then you follow it up. You gotta wash down the water with something healthier for you, so you take a sip of whiskey. And
I mean, there's no such thing as too much whiskey for me, but okay.
Exactly, you need to stay hydrated. Water is more of a pleasure thing, and whiskey's a necessity.
Yeah. I mean, these muscles don't really come from being dehydrated. So.
Exactly. So you're kind of resting for a bit, and then when you look down, you realize the rock you're sitting on does have a bit of a sparkle to it. And I'd like you to go ahead and make a nature check for me.
Nature check. All right, where are you, nature? There you are. Okay. 13.
From your time living in the strongholds and Orsinium and whatnot, you easily recognize this metal. You have accidentally sat down on kind of like a little outcropping of a vein of iron ore. You're pretty sure that if you were to mine up some of this raw ore, you could probably sell it for a decent price.
Okay. All right. I need a pickaxe to get it or something?
That would help. However, you don't have one in your pack. What kind of pack do you have, I should ask?
Crap, what do I even have? I think I have an explorer's pack.
Okay,
I have a crowbar.
You can use the crowbar. I would have you do a strength check at disadvantage.
At disadvantage? All
yeah.
Right. 5.
So you go through, you're trying to mine it up, and you're able to get about a pound of iron ore before your crowbar breaks.
Oh shit. Oh well.
But yeah, it's of a good enough quality that you think you might be able to sell it pretty well.
That's good. Yeah. So just 1 pound?
About a pound, yeah. Okay. So, you guys settle into camp. Zira, are you searching for anything or just kind of sticking by the camp?
I'm going to say she'll probably stick by the camp. She doesn't really do a lot of crafty things aside from weaponry, so.
Yeah. Zoe, are you out exploring, or are you hanging out by the camp, enraptured in your newfound favorite book series?
I would be hanging out at the camp, hanging out with Eugen.
Oh, Eugen's already headed south to Daggerfall.
Oh. Well, then I'd be hanging out the camp, taking a nap, not being useful.
Mm-hmm. Zira,
Yes.
you see this tiny cat person curled up in a ball near the campfire, completely passed out, purring a little bit. Every now and then she does like this little twitch. And you feel the overwhelming urge to start petting the cat.
Oh no.
Just like disturb her in her sleep, like.
You've seen plenty of cats out there, and they're definitely adorable. But this is one of the most adorable things that Zira has seen in her 16 years.
My beans are in danger.
They are in danger because I really want to touch them.
My beans.
Okay, I like very, very gently and very slowly, like, pet her, and then very lightly, like, stroke the toe bean.
Is that like allowed?
Don't even know what to roll for that. I'm asleep.
You start stroking the toe beans and just like
very, very delicately, like not like.
But toe beans are like very like close to the cat. It's almost like you're touching them inappropriately.
I'm just touching their hand. God.
Hey, my cats do not.
Or maybe
like
their feet.
It'd probably be her feet. It'd probably be her feet, and she's kind of like subconsciously ends up stretching her feet and like spreading the toe beans.
Oh yes.
Zoe, you're having the best dream ever. Go ahead and Zira, go ahead and do a will check.
Will.
Or not Zira, Zoe.
What am I rolling for?
A will check, just to, in part to see if you wake up, and also in part to see how, in your sleepy state, you react to being pet and having your toe beans messed with.
I got 10.
Okay. So you don't really wake up, but what kind of dream is Zoe having?
The kind where she's on a farm and there's lots of good foods to eat, and there are sheepies, and the sheepies let her ride on them and eat fruit on her. Eat the fruit on them.
Mm-hmm.
Very soft, very good. Collected to make all the blankets, all of the blankets.
As you're dreaming, one of the sheep, like you're sitting there munching on some fruit. One of the sheep just comes up and starts nuzzling your toes, and the fur is just like the wool is just so soft you can't help but to spread your toes and kind of work them into the wool.
Grab it, biscuits.
And sure enough, Zira, like her paw, like all four of her paws just start doing the biscuits movement. And it's just like, I'm pretty sure there's you only barely contain your squee. So.
Yep.
This is the least violent thing Zira has done.
And no one was around to witness it because everybody else was out foraging. And the second she hears somebody coming back, she retracts her hand and goes back to sharpening a stick.
And sure enough, the first one to return, the first one to return is Jilinak, with a sack full of. At first glance, Zira, it looks like just rocks.
Mm-hmm.
But the sparkle in them, you realize it's metal. It's unrefined metal.
Okay.
Not Jilinak. Ajanti returns next, and You're actually impressed to find that not only does he have a pack full of like actual edible food, he's also got a dead rabbit slung over his shoulder, and just kind of this look of pride all over his face. His spines are raised in kind of glee as he immediately begins to set about cooking.
Oh God.
I love it. It's a new recipe I came up with.
I'll make my own food, thanks.
I call it seaweed rabbit with apples.
That's horrifying.
And then the last one to return is Amrit. So you guys settle in. Amrit has first watch, and he goes through. He does his thing. Zira, you have the next watch.
Okay.
And every now and then, during the first half of your watch, Amrit seems to shift a little bit, almost like he's dreaming. Occasionally he kind of mumbles something in Altmer under his breath, kind of in his sleep. And then after a bit, you hear some noise in the underbrush.
Who? Me?
Yes.
Okay. How far from the campfire do I hear the noise?
It's maybe about 100 feet away, but from what it sounds like, it's getting closer.
Okay. I wake up Ajanti.
Okay.
Quietly.
What?
Shh. There's something in the bushes.
There's something in the bushes!
Joanak wakes up too, like, what the fuck? With like a drink thrown at hand.
She just like brings her hand to her forehead with like the I'm surrounded by idiots look. And then it's just like, yes, do you think you could quietly go deal with it?
Don't worry about it, fam.
Don't worry about fam. I got you.
She gestures the direction that it came from.
The moment Ajanti's about to head toward the forest, a tall man steps out from between the pines. He's taller than any man you guys have ever seen. Taller, but you can tell from his dark skin and from his clothing choice, he's definitely not a giant.
I thought it was the giant from Twin Peaks.
He's not a giant. He's not an orc. He's definitely not an ogre.
He's
But
Slender Man these kids keep talking about?
Slender, yes, but Slender Man, no. Zira,
Yep.
I would like you to make a history check. Either history or religion, one of the two.
It doesn't matter. I'm shit at both of them.
Yes, but your dice love you, so.
Yeah.
Okay. That'll be a 4.
Does Amrit wake up?
No, right now Amrit's still in his dream.
Okay.
So you
I have like wait, what would the two like thing were?
it was either history or religion.
Okay.
What I
I'm
should
good with
have
both of those things.
done for you, Sierra, is make it with advantage. So if you want to reroll it, you can.
All right. Rolling with advantage. Oh, that's so much better. I rolled at a 19.
Oh, wow.
The man approaches, and
So
he's
much
got
better.
his gaze fixed on you, Zira.
Okay. Kind of as an instinctive thing, as soon as she saw a form come out from the tree line, her blades would have been summoned to her hand.
Yeah.
Because she's just like, huh?
Because she's paranoid.
I won't hesitate.
She has people who actually want to kill her,
Yeah.
who she is actually also trying to kill first.
Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean you're wrong.
This is true.
You're still paranoid.
Yeah, true.
Yes, she is paranoid.
You're still paranoid.
Yeah. You realize he's not wearing the kind of stuff cultists would wear. He's actually draped in Yokuden robes.
She kind of stares at him for a moment. Does she recognize him?
Describe to me how Zira would normally perceive Tall Papa when she thinks of him.
She probably would see him as any of the depictions they have growing up, like from her home.
Okay.
Since her family is one of the ones who worship very heavily their the deities of their people.
Yeah.
You can make a religion out of this.
So probably a very tall, like, man with dark skin and like honey colored eyes and most likely dreads.
Mm-hmm.
Wearing the nice like clothes of their people. So colorful.
Mm-hmm. That's what you see in front of you.
She kind of like stares at him for a moment with that like look of like, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? And once she's sure she is seeing what she thinks she is seeing, she drops to her knees and places her hands out in front of her with her blades down and lowers her head and starts softly saying a prayer to him in Yoku.
So, Jonty and Julinak, you guys see her just immediately drop and prostrate herself before this very tall man that you don't recognize.
Okay. Well, Juliak has his staff ready in one hand, so so he's like kind of ready, like, but he's kind of concerned at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, so Juliak goes there saying, like, what's going on? Who is this guy?
What's this all about? Daggers drawn.
She doesn't respond. She waits for like she finishes the like prayer and then she like kind of glances towards everybody else with this look of they're gonna die.
Okay.
And kind of slowly raises her head but doesn't look him in the eyes just yet. And in Yoku, she gives him a greeting.
He responds also in Yoku, and then turns his head to look over the rest of the group, and he smiles. And Zoe and Amrit, you guys begin to stir, and when you wake up, you find that outside of your camp is a very tall, Redguard-looking giant. And
It's like the first time ever.
And
Taller than me too.
and Zira is on her hands and knees in front of him, and both Julinak and Ajanti are just so confused.
Jonak still has a staff ready in one hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he had the drink in the other.
Can I roll an insight or a history to see if I know what's going on?
Yes, you may, and you may do so with advantage.
Sweet.
I too.
Can I do it too? Because I also have like very good history.
All of you guys can. The only ones who get advantage on it are Amrit and Zira.
Because Emery's old as fuck, and this is from my people.
I got a 14.
Okay.
I got a 16.
Okay. So
I got 13.
okay. 10 and above, you guys are able to kind of make enough sense of Zira's response. This is a god.
Holy shit.
And the waves of power coming from him kind of attest to that fact. Amrit, you have further recognition. During your service with the Dominion, and in a campaign that you were fighting in Hammerfell, you remember seeing frescoes and stuff like that of this figure. The Yokudan name is Ruptka, but you also know the colloquial name, Tall Papa. And you knew that a lot of people in Hammerfell worshipped him, but you kind of assumed that Rupka was just another variant of Akatosh or Arke, or even of Oriel, as you would perceive Akatosh. This does not feel like Akatosh. This feels like something older. And Rupka kind of looks over the group and then looks back at Zira. Rise, child.
She stands, taking her blades and tucking them into their sheath as she does, in kind of one fluid motion.
I have seen you fight your enemies out here. I've seen you take up a blood oath. Your tenacity and your skill has definitely impressed me. Myself and the other gods have become quite interested in this quest that you've taken upon yourself. He kind of smirks a little bit. He says, but I must ask, how dedicated are you to settling this debt?
My blood was taken, and blood must be paid. And until my last breath, I will stay on this quest.
He smiles as if that's what he wanted to hear. He says, and your companions here, what role do they play in your quest?
She kind of glances at each of them with like this look of like,
Hey man, we were there for you.
She's like, for now we travel together as our goals seem to be the same. But should our goals differ, I assume we will part ways.
Okay.
And you?
I'm losing my child. They grew up so fast.
And you, when your blood debt is settled, what do you plan to do?
She kind of like has this look of like she didn't think about what to do afterwards, since like she has like 100 people to kill, so
God damn.
Like more of like I didn't think I would live that long.
You're like the definition of like teenage angst in like Elder Scrolls.
She says that I would do what my people do. and continue my purpose with my blade.
Would you do so? Would you do so as a member of your family, or on your own?
If my family needs me for more than just a prize, then I will return.
You work to restore honor to your family and to restore honor to Yokuda. Your family's role for you would be one of the court, at the seat of another, to do nothing but serve as decoration or work politics. He pauses for a moment. He says, "There is no honor in doing nothing. But there is honor in continuing the fight for your home. What I am about to tell you is one of concern to all of Hammerfell, to all who have the blood of Yoku. There's a greater threat beyond that which the cult that stains your family's honor possesses. I see in you a warrior strong enough to face this threat, but not alone." He gestures toward the rest of the party. Will you be willing to die to save those who share such a fate? Will you be willing to lead others to fight where heroes fear to tread?
If it is to protect my people, I would do anything.
Did this guy fight the big dark evil in the sky?
Are you asking that of Rupka?
So wait, so God just decided to come down here in order to give us a new quest? That's what's going on here?
Are you asking that in character or in person?
Yeah, I'm asking that in character. That's why I don't make it character.
He looks at you quizzically, Jelinek, and says, "Quests are not merely given. Often they are thrust upon the warriors who would fight to make their homes safe. It is up to you whether you wish to fulfill your fate or to run from it."
I run from nothing.
Well, my faith is to, get my hometown back. So is there anything that can be done about that?
He looks at you for a moment, saying nothing, and says, "A fate that threatens Yoku, a fate that threatens Hammerfell, threatens all of Nirn. If you wish to save your home, you would want to save Tamriel as well."
Oh, so this is all of Tamriel. Julian takes a sip of drink and goes, "Great."
He looks back at Zira. "Your will is strong, but your body must be strengthened further. Your skills honed like the edge of a blade. To do this, you must fight, you must train, and you must be tested." And he pauses for a moment, says, "You must be forced to break the taboos held within your heart and the hearts of your people. To do must be done for the sake of Hammerfell and for the sake of Yokuda. Pass my tests, and you will be a warrior worthy of the Ebon Arm." And he vanishes, and in his place is left a huge black troll. Its 3 eyes glinting in the moonlight, and it's got armor strapped to its hides and claws of iron at the end of its huge arms. It growls at you, and in just this horrible voice, it says, "I am your first test, the test of strength."
Good fucking God.
Zero just grins ear to ear, the most disturbing smile you could possibly imagine on the tiny girl as she just is a welcomed challenge.
I just want to say when this guy appears that Zoe's going to be like, oh, what magic is that?
I'm just imagining her going, oh, what's that? And then poofing out. Like full poof, like, oh shit. Okay. Zira is ready.
Before we roll initiative, what is everybody else's reaction to this conversation being had between between this god and Zira?
Poison's being applied to daggers.
John is like, I feel like I'll need this.
Well, doing that is just more like, I can't fucking believe this right now. I just want to go home, man.
Amrit is probably just quietly under his breath in Yoku saying, it's a pleasure meeting another god. Meeting a god. Yes, I know Yoku.
Oh, okay. So
I know lots of languages.
Yeah.
So,
I knew exactly what she was saying when she was praying.
Zira,
Yeah.
what's your passive perception?
15.
You
Oh,
catch.
I also probably refer to him not as Tall Papa, but it's the other name that I've forgotten.
As Ruptka?
Call
Yes.
Daddy.
Which is what Zira refers to him as well.
Yeah.
You should refer to him as Call Daddy.
With
That gives a different connotation.
with that passive Bob, Zira catches Amrit stumble for a brief moment, saying another god catching himself and saying to meet a god. But compared to the threat facing you, that seems inconsequential at the moment. Everybody, please roll initiative.
Nice.
Nice. Jesus Christ. I got 5. Oh.
You guys can say it out loud. Just if you say it, add it in the chat as well, just so that I can go back to it.
Oh, you got 117 initiative?
That's impressive.
I believe, Lovekin, I go first with an initiative of 5.
What?
Yours is a 22. Mine is a 22.
Oh, yes.
My actual initiative is higher than yours.
Not 20, so suck it.
Suck it.
Julianek, or not Julianek, Ashanti, what's yours?
12.
Nice. Oh, I see that. I was sitting there looking through the chat like, where did he put it?
Where's Andrew?
That's always the question. Where's Andrew? And I always pop out when you least expect it.
Yeah, he pops out and goes, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition! Okay. So, first in the turn order is Zira.
Alright, so with blades in her hand,
Oh, that's Persona.
this is, I'm gonna say a good time to rage, because it's a troll. And she's just gonna go full on and attack it. Try to take its leg out from underneath it. Because that's pretty much all she can reach, since she's only 4.5 feet tall.
Alright, go for it.
Alright, so attack numero uno does a 18 hit it.
An 18 does not hit it.
Okay. Well, that's a crit, so...
Well, then in that case, that one does hit it.
Alrighty. Let's see. Alright. For 25 points of damage.
Very nice.
Uh-huh.
What kind of damage is it? I do need to keep this in mind. Different trolls, like different variations of trolls, have different resistances and stuff like that.
It's just magic. It
Okay.
has no specific damage type.
Okay.
Oh,
And
it's slicing.
That was 25, you said?
Yeah. Her
Okay.
blades, aside from the daggers, are all slashing.
Okay.
Because I believe daggers are piercing.
Mhm.
Okay. And third attack is a... What's 18 plus 8 is 26 to hit.
That hits?
God, I hope so. For 17 points of damage.
Okay.
And her blades are treated as magical for overcoming resistances.
Yeah. Okay. Next up in the turn order is Emery.
Woo. It is time for a wonderful, wonderful soul trap.
You're like, oh, I'm gonna get a big 'em.
A big 'em.
Alrighty, so go ahead and cast your soul trap spell.
Okay.
And then, alrighty. Anything else on your turn, or just the spell?
Well, soul trap is a bonus action. Can I cast another spell if it's a?
I would allow it.
Then I would like to cast.
Sorry, you cut out there briefly. What were you casting?
Sorry, Toll the Dead.
Toll the Dead? Okay.
Yes. Where's my D12? Okay. It needs to make a will saving throw.
Okay. And it got a 9.
Thank you. Okay, so he takes 2d12. Oh, if my d12 would stop rolling. He takes 14 damage.
Okay.
And that is it.
All right. You guys hear that familiar knell of the Requiem bell, and Disney reference, if anybody caught that.
Oh, and I want to move away.
You're like, out of range? No.
Thank you.
You're like, squishy nah.
Squishy now.
Okay. Next up is Zoe.
Can you remind me what kind of foliage we're in?
You guys are in a pine forest. So basically, Rothgar, the further northeast you get, the rockier and more mountainous and more snowy it gets. You guys are kind of like in an area where the forest is beginning to thin out a bit, because the forest in the ancient pine forest in the southwestern portion of Rothgar eventually kind of thins out into tundra before it becomes mountains.
I asked because my first thought is electrocute him, but then what if I set the forest on fire? And that sounds like a bad idea. So I'm going to crossbolt him. But like I just woke up. Let me just go grab my crossbolt.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and let you do that with disadvantage since you're groggy.
I'm a sleepy kitty. I got a nat 20.
Nice.
Whoa.
Best sleepy kitty.
She just woke up after having taken like a little sip of skooma.
So how do you do crit damage?
So you roll the damage dice twice and add them together, and then add whatever modifiers apply.
I get a total of 10 then.
Nice.
Oh.
I'm still the best sleepy kitty.
You are a good kitty. You deserve a treat. Like a little piece of tuna.
Jaunty, your reflexes kick in, and it is your turn.
That's the stabbing.
The new M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Stabbing.
And one of my daggers is poisoned. So
Okay.
Cool. Does a 16 hit?
It does not. You try to go to plunge your blade into its skin, and it kind of glances off of the plate metal that it's wearing.
Okay, one of my daggers will miss, the other one will hit with a natural 18.
Okay.
And then I'm going to use another attack due to my extra attack feature.
Okay.
Does a 19 hit?
I can't cast
A 19 hits. I should mention that the 18 does not.
Oh no, it was a natural 18, as in I rolled an 18 on the die.
Oh, you rolled an 18 on the die?
Yeah, for that same
Okay.
attack. So 2 hits then.
Okay.
One of the hits will be with my Blade of Woe.
No, I mean, I'm not going to
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and
No, you
juice that bad boy up with some good necrotic damage.
Alrighty.
Damn.
And how much does that do?
I think you've got the stats for the Blade of Woe.
I do. I gotta find it again. It's here somewhere, I promise.
The Blade of Woe is a +3 to attack and damage. And you have 8 little points that you can spend to do varying effects. You can do Demoralize, which gives disadvantage or on attack, strength, and agility on your foe when you hit them with it. You can Expose, which gives them disadvantage versus spell saves, or you could do Decay, which is an extra 2d6 of necrotic.
Got it. Alright. I'm gonna use the decay effect. Also, he needs to make a endurance saving throw for my poison.
He got an 11 on that one.
He fails.
He fails.
This guy is not having a good day.
Yep.
I'm just imagining this troll like having been like with his family making dinner, and all of us.
All of us are just like fucking him up. Poor guy. But then again, like, you know, he was sent over to us, so he's just kind of being right now.
Go ahead and lay that damage on me.
Lay that damage on me.
Okay, so that's gonna be 37 damage.
Nice.
Ooh.
And what was that ongoing poison?
It is not ongoing poison. What happens is with my rogue poison feature, at the end of my turn, he takes an additional 2d4 damage, which I rolled for.
Okay. Alrighty then. Next up would be the troll. So he kind of roars at you guys, and you actually see some of his wounds actually begin to stitch back together.
Oh.
We got some fire or acid.
Maybe, maybe not. Who knows?
I only have electricity and cold.
And he's going to he's going to swing his claws at you, Zira.
Okay.
The first one is an 18.
That misses.
And the second one is a 25.
That hits.
Okay.
I'd be amazed if it didn't.
Not to worry, that's only 5 points of slashing damage.
You mean
2 points of slashing damage.
And since he missed me
Oh wait,
on
hold
that
on.
first attack.
Hold on. Need to add a little bit more to that. I missed a thing. Add another 5 to that.
Okay.
So 5 damage for you.
Oh no!
And then he roars and tries to chomp down on you with his drooling mouth.
Okay.
And that one will be...
God, he has to bend over really fucking far to...
That is a crit.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
What? I'm paying attention.
That for a total of 18 piercing damage.
Ooh.
Ooh.
9 damage.
I also need you to make a willpower save for me.
That will be a 22.
Very nice. Alrighty. Next
Sorry,
up...
21, but still, yeah. Oh, he missed me with this first attack?
Yeah.
I'm attacking him.
Your reaction?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I crit!
Nice.
Eat a dick, motherfucker!
Math is happening.
Math is happening, I noticed. Give me a second. That will be a... Love can help me with math.
What is it?
8 plus 6
It's 14.
plus 4
18.
plus 3
21.
plus 5
26.
plus 2.
28.
28! I'm like, my brain was like, I'm too tired for this. It's too many maths. But 28 points of damage.
So as he swings his arm over you, the one that misses, the reason why it misses is you instinctively bring up your blade and his arm goes flying. His arm goes flying away from his body, which, just to give you guys a little bit of perspective on that, their arms are like the size of tree trunks. So...
There's just this arm off in the distance now.
Weird. Give you a troll finger.
You're gonna get you a troll finger? So now he has one arm.
And Julinak, you're facing off with a one-armed troll.
Okay, so he doesn't have a weapon anymore?
Well, he has his other hand.
Yeah.
Okay, but wait, does he not have any weapons at all?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
All claws and teeth.
Well, because I was like thinking about like using disarm on him, but I don't think
I did.
He's already been disarmed.
You disarmed him. You literally disarmed him, but it only works with weapons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zero's very good at disarming strike.
Okay, let's see here. I think... Oh, God. Okay, well, you guys need to get out of the way again, because I think I'm gonna Fusroda his ass.
Go ahead and Fusroda.
Fusroda! Did I roll for something, or did I just do it?
I do not have that page open.
Okay. Yeah, then I like say.
Give me a second, and I will open it up.
Yeah. Let's see. I have it right here. I use one stamina. Point to cast the alliteration spell Thunder Wave. This spell's level increase for each additional shout you spend.
Yeah. So, do I need to roll anything for that? Should be the main question.
All right, Fusroda. Oh yeah, do I need to roll anything for that? It said like it's based off Thunder Wave.
I think it's a deck save.
Hmm?
Yeah,
It's a
so
dex-
yeah, so it's basically the effect of casting Thunder Wave. Which it's a Constitution saving throw.
Oh shoot.
Or rather an endurance saving throw in the case of this one.
Okay.
And he got a 19 on that.
Oh shit. Alright.
21, because I'm 90% sure I'm in the crossfire on that.
Yeah,
Well, I told you guys to move out
any-
of the way before I like perform
Except for
it.
we can't move during your turn, so telling us to move out of the way and then doing it doesn't mean anything to anybody.
Alright, yeah, sure.
So the people caught in the crossfire for that one is anybody who's making martial attacks against the troll. So that would be Zira and Ajanti.
Alright.
So
Do
you
I
guys
roll for this?
you guys need to make endurance saving throws.
Yeah, I got a 21 on my endurance save. Since
So-
I
I
knew
rolled
I
that
was in
one.
crossfire on this shit.
Okay.
Mhm.
I've taken more damage by party doing than I have by any of our enemies.
Hey,
So,
you took it.
So Raven, go ahead and roll 2d8.
2d8.
Yeah, 2d8 thunder damage.
Alright, let's see.
Zira, you will only take half of that damage, and Ajanti, you will be taking the full brunt of it.
Poor Ajanti.
I got 10.
Okay.
Oh, that's not bad.
So you shout into the forest, the powerful orcish voice of just Fus Roda. The
Who's roll what?
you say as you find yourself being thrown into the forest and smacking into one of the pine trees, taking an additional 4 bludgeoning damage.
Wait, me?
No, Thurman.
Do I find any new ingredients while I'm flying through the air?
You don't. But you, as your life briefly flashes before your eyes, you realize you forgot a crucial ingredient in the during your culinary competition back in Wayrest.
Oh.
I don't know what he could have put in that damn soup to make it any better, but I feel like it would have just made it worse.
He forgot actual.
He forgot
to put the septum in the pot.
to. And that's your last thought before suddenly you slam into a tree and are just in a lot of pain.
I'm sorry.
Zira manages to hold fast as the wave of force goes over her, and the troll also manages to hold fast, but as that wave of force hits him, it does slam into him hard enough to where he just topples over.
Yeah. Like a tree. Timber.
And he looks up at you, Zira, and does like this hideous troll smile. And in the voice of Rupka says, "You have passed the first test." And the troll's body disintegrates into just ash. And in the pile of ash, there's a glowing ruby.
I pick it up.
When you pick it up in the back of your mind, you hear Rupka's voice saying, "This is the first trophy of my tests. More will come. And as you pass them, you will gain more of these gems. Remember them, hold on to them, protect them, for you will need them."
And show them.
Do I get my troll soul, or is it null and void?
Troll soul. Give me a moment. I need to pull up.
It's a new genre of music.
Whoop.
Sounds vaguely like the Cantina song from.
Yeah.
So, what kind of soul gems do you have in your bag?
I have lots.
I should specify that are empty.
I think the only ones I have that are empty, I have a lesser, I have some grand soul gems that are empty, and I think one of my graders is empty.
Okay. So you hear that normal crack and rushing sound as white vapor comes out of the troll as it's disintegrating, and gets pulled into one of your grand soul gems.
Cool.
Ooh.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, with that, the rest of your guys' night is fairly uneventful, though if you'd like to discuss this test that you've suddenly found yourselves in, and the
Suddenly.
and Emreet, if you want to bring up your own personal encounter, or even if Zero wants to mention the little stumble in words, you guys do have time to do so.
Zira, right afterwards, she kind of cleans off her blades, turns around and gives you that look of, I fucking heard you, bitch. Look.
Well, I'm not paying attention. I'm going straight back to my book.
Which one?
Zira walks over.
Which book?
You can't hide it behind a book forever.
Well, I haven't had much time, so I'm probably writing the knowledge that I learned in the regular book.
Okay.
Probably on that process.
Mm-hmm.
Zira walks over. You just cause more questions than you give answers.
Questions are good.
And she tells you in Yoku, what did you mean by another god?
It means that is not the first god I have met.
And who else have you met then?
Eyebrow wiggle.
Which is a weird and somewhat disturbing sight to see a high elf do.
I don't think it is anyone you will care to.
Which means it is someone you do not care to disclose.
It's Cthulhu.
I don't see why it's any of importance to you.
Someone who finds cultists such as the worms fascinating, yet will not disclose who they have spoken with, cannot be trusted.
I have a proposition for you. I will answer your questions if you answer mine.
I'm
Fair.
sure yours if you show me mine.
That's a horrible thing to say to a small child, just so you know. She looks 12.
Do you wish that to be your first question?
Is that your first question?
No. No, that is not.
Yes, I asked a question. I want the answer.
I have spoken with Hermaeus Mora, the Daedric Prince of Knowledge.
The Cthulhu man. The hentai man.
I've gazed into the mouth tentacles and seen the feud. Okay. She looks at you and she And your question? And you can tell she's formulating like the next series of questions.
The plan.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna throw you for a loop. Do you have? Wait, Josh.
Yes.
How long ago that second dream I had, with the man on the battlefield? How long ago was that particular battle?
For you, like maybe about 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
She would have been a small bean. Well, I don't know. I don't think she's grown since she was 10, so like let's do about the same size.
A small bean. When you were like barely 2.
Well, if it was 7 years ago, she would have been 9.
0. Do you have a? Is your father's name Evan?
That's some Redguard name.
No, it is not. Your father has a standard Redguard name. Evan is more of a Breton name.
Okay. She says, "I do not know a Redguard with such a name."
Do you not even know your father?
I haven't named them yet. She
Who's
also
your dad?
has like 7 brothers. Okay, actually, correction. She now has 5 brothers.
Or some male relative named Evan?
I'm
You're
guessing
Evan
it's not
Hansen?
someone who's related to her. Josh.
Not that you know of.
Just okay. She goes, "And what did the god come to you for?" You're like, "Damn it!" This is
He came to knowledge.
Damn it, I thought I almost had her.
You're like, "I was hoping she'd change her question to, what do you know of this Redguard?" Nope, that's on the list now.
Evan. Who named their Redguard child Evan?
A Breton?
Oh, true. Maybe Vera, maybe you're half Redguard, half Breton.
She would know.
Are you sure about that?
Both of her parents are alive, so yeah, she would know.
What if they're not your real parents and that's the plot twist?
No, Zira's definitely full-blooded Redguard.
Ah, dang it.
He came to me for knowledge, as the Daedric Prince of Knowledge would.
Okay. And she gestures to you. It's your turn to ask a question. She knows how this game is played. Tit for tat.
What are the rest of you guys doing as they're having this conversation?
Oh, and Yoku.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna search for any values that were like from the orc other than the ruby because I'm pretty sure picked it up.
The ruby was all that was left.
Beans.
Wait, did his arm that got flung like away also turn to ash?
Yeah.
Hey, you could collect orc ash. Troll ash. I don't know what it'd be good for.
Orc ash? Are you kidding me?
Troll ash.
Don't freaking turn me into ash.
Battle paint.
Don't you dare. Alright. Well, Joey just takes a sip of his drink and just like contemplate everything that's just going on right now.
What about Ajanti and Zoe?
Anyone else in the party know Yoku?
I don't think anyone else in the party knows Yoku.
I'm picking my scaly ass up.
Peeling yourself off of the bark.
That's true. I go up to Ajanti and say like, dude, I am so sorry.
Yeah. Hey,
This
guess
is
what?
like the 3rd time I've done that to a party member. So sorry, bro.
Hey, words hurt too. Literally.
It's not my fault you guys were in the way. I tell you to get out all the way all the time.
It's
and
not
you
my
guys-
fault that half the party is melee characters and are always right next to the enemy.
Well, I'm a melee character too, but you know, I have my voice.
You know what? You don't get any of my delicious rabbit tonight.
I mean, I'm
unless you're
actually
gonna
okay
slice
with
it
that.
seaweed, like, eh.
I'm actually okay with that. I can make my own food.
Hey, the next time you
I would
guys
actually
invite
really
a very
good-
tall giant to camp, give me a heads up and maybe not in the middle of the night. Okay? Okay. Good night.
Should I tap that on the ground?
Good night, Zoe.
Good night, kitty.
Yes. Does Emrit have a second question?
Yes. Were you born in whatever the
West
main,
Philadelphia.
whatever main city is in Red Card Country? Place. Thinking on Bubber.
Zira, when you were born, you were actually not born in Hammerfell proper. Rather, your father was kind of on a bit of a tour at the time, like a diplomatic tour.
Mhm.
And you were born actually on Strass Mackay, a small island under Redguard control, kind of to the south of Hammerfell.
Okay, then that's what she tells Emrit.
Okay.
I'm guessing her family is from one of the, though, seeing as they are a noble house. So she'd probably also tell you where it is that their homestead is.
Their homestead would be in Sentinel.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see. Her next question for you. And what knowledge is it that you traded with this god?
I gave him that spell book.
She gives you that and I said traded. I didn't say what you gave him. I said traded with.
Yeah, because it's like knowledge of Hermaeus Mora isn't necessarily uncommon, and people like it's not too big a conclusion to draw that Hermaeus Mora wouldn't trade a single spell in a deal, especially.
No, he said he traded. She's implying, all right, and what did you get for this?
Yeah.
Because he seemed all too excited to get this spell book that he just gave away before he could learn from it. So obviously whatever he was getting in return had to be worth more than a new spell. Despite her impulsiveness, she's not that stupid.
I am trading the spell book along with some histories for knowledge that I would otherwise have no.
And she gestures so that you may ask another question.
I want to know your histories, Zira. Tell me your past. Also, do you want me to patch that boo-boo?
She looks at you for a moment and she's like, that wasn't a question. And I'm like, about the history.
Yes, I know. I'm bending the rules.
And she smiles. And she goes, well, then tell me your histories, and I will tell you mine.
That will take you many days.
She looks around and she's like, I think we have time.
I ask first, you tell me yours first.
Okay.
Once again,
I'm
I'm
just
sure you
looking at you with this look of like, I'm 16, bitch. This is gonna be real short.
I want details.
I have to keep an eye on him, on like the other one to make sure he's not doing anything creepy with the.
You're like keeping an eye. You're like, I don't trust you. Okay. She holds out her hand and she says, I will tell you my histories if you tell me yours. Do we have a deal?
We do.
Do you shake her hand?
Yes.
Okay. And she kind of gives you that look of like, if you renege on this deal, it will be your hand. She's like, oh, it's my writing hand too. Oh, no.
And does Amrit patch up Zira's wound?
Yes, but Amrit would like to take a little jar, get a little blood.
Okay.
Amrit's weird.
She's just watching you like, what the fuck are you doing?
Collecting evidence.
Nope. In case I need to reincarnate you later. Samples. Yes, because Zira needs to come back as a tiny Khajiit so she can be smaller than she was before and twice as angry.
Like you can actually.
The rage is proportionate.
Yeah. You can't take 4.5 feet of rage and put it in a 3-foot body. It's just too much.
So, you guys continue having this conversation deep into the night. Ajanti works on making his rabbit pasty. And Zoe purrs her way into slumber. Julinak, and Julinak kind of rests and rests and thinks over everything that's been going on.
With the drink all still in his hand.
Oh yeah.
Perfectly filled.
And then
I think Amrit will be writing other things tonight.
and then eventually the sun begins to rise again, and you guys begin to make your way. You begin to make your way toward Orsinium again.
Okie dokie.
Yeah. Eventually, the trees kind of thin out a bit more. And eventually you find yourselves in kind of this open, expansive tundra. Still plenty of areas where there are, like, hills and boulders, and off in the distance you can see the ruins of, at one point, might have been an aqueduct. And you travel along the road, kind of staving off the chill in the air. And eventually, you find a group of it's a mixture of different people, but as you grow closer, you find that there are, like, almost all of them have their hair done up in dark elf fashion. And it's kind of crudely done. You see a couple of other people with it looks like leather armor, but as you guys draw close, you realize that this leather armor is not functional at all. It looks good. It looks good, but it's not actual armor.
Are we doing a dominatrix?
No. And you guys go closer, and you see some of them are orcs. Some of them actually are dark elves. A few others are Khajiit who have done their hair up in dark elf fashion and are wearing this bizarre armor. And some of them are carrying books. Others are. There are a few orcs who have tried to paint over their greenish skin with kind of like a dark blue kind of paint. And some of them even look like it even looks like they had done like minor magics to make their eyes look red in dark elf fashion.
Are they culture appropriating, like, or are they like black facing like a dark elf character from like that book, like that we have?
Zoe, I'll let you go ahead and make a perception check at advantage.
18.
Ooh.
You recognize the way that this armor is all done up. That you recognize the hairstyle. They are all dressed up like Narcissus Dren.
Oh Jesus fuck! They're cosplayers.
They're crossing. You just noticed that.
I don't.
You
They're
actually just noticed.
upstairs. What the fuck are they doing?
Juliet actually like goes up to them and like say like excuse me, but what's going on here? Why are you guys all covered in paint and
Do you need
bright
some
eyes?
shopping?
Wait, what? Well, Juliet is like an old dad. Not very old, but he's like a dad, so he doesn't really understand what the kids are into
These
nowadays.
newfangled things these kids are in these days.
Zoe, you also see that these guys are carrying other copies of various adventures of Narcissus Dren, including Part 2 of the Lost Notebook, copies of Dwemer Dreams, stuff like that. At your mention of face swapping, Amrit, a couple of people actually go up to you and they're like, "Wait, do you do this kind of that kind of service? How much do you charge?" And they hold up pictures. They're drawn pictures.
Zero
Of a-
just gets this look of like they have no idea what they're getting into.
And they
And some of them like some of them like showed you like yaoi fan art, like from like for like the one other male character, main character.
and they're pointing out like we want to look like him. How much do you charge? How like just all sorts of questions.
Permanently.
6 cents each.
Oh
Maybe
no.
10.
Much more than that. This is fairly illegal.
Zoe, what are you doing amongst your newfound people?
Their fandom.
I gotta find the booth where they're selling more of the books.
It doesn't look like it doesn't look like a convention of sorts. It looks like these guys are traveling.
Dang it!
Oh, it's a traveling show.
I wonder if they have any
A
extra
traveling
copies of the book.
con.
You do find one person who has a lot of these books there, and after
Their
chatting with
fanfictions.
after chatting with him a bit, like he finds out that you're a new fan. He's like, "Oh my gosh, you started with you started with Narcissus Dren and the Lost Notebook, right?"
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that one's so good. Oh, you should try this one. And he pulls out a copy of Dwemer Dreams. He's like, this was the first one, he wrote, and oh my gosh, it's so good. Like, if you want to get really into this is the place to start. He's like,
How much?
he kind of looks at it longingly, then looks back at the 5 other copies of it he has. He's like, you know what? For a new fan, I'll just give this to you for free.
What? Oh yeah!
Free books. Oh yeah. Free fanfics. Well, fanfics are already free.
Anime is a sin. Sithis frowns upon all of you.
Zero's just staring at the people who are wanting face swapping and are talking to Anna. They have no idea what they just asked for.
So, do you guys decide to stop for a little bit amongst these guys? They do have some provisions that they're willing to share, and they were easily able to tell that you guys were adventurers simply by the ragtag composition of your group. So, of course, they're asking about your adventures and stuff like that.
Do they need some
yeah?
potions?
What's that?
Do they need some potions?
A few of them do buy some potions. You're able to make about 60 septums off of them for
Nice.
various minor potions. And they, like I said, they have other provisions that they're willing to share with you guys. And the most you can tell is these guys all are fans of the same set of books. And they welcome you to sit down for lunch.
Okay.
Amrit,
Yes.
you're offering face swaps?
It was more of a side
Oh, but
concept for
but they're taking you seriously.
them. Well, I tell them a price, and it's probably way too much.
Go ahead and
And
name.
I do comment that it is fairly illegal
And very permanent.
and very, very permanent.
When has illegal ever stopped you?
Most of the group swarming you kind of sighs and walks off, but there are still a couple of people there who are still interested. One of whom
We're
is
like, how illegal?
one of whom is a Khajiit, another one is a wood elf, and another one is an orc. And
Why
judging
do you want to get rid of your beautiful orc face?
judging by the quality of their costumes, you're pretty sure they came from money.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
They're like, we can afford.
Is this a Daedric cult I have not heard of yet?
Sort of.
And they say, "Well, how much are you going to charge?"
How much does it cost? Oh, great GM.
I'll let you go ahead and place the price.
Oh man, I have no idea.
Wait. Quick question. How are you planning to swap their faces? That definitely changes the
It's
With a dagger.
it's basically
With, like, a dagger.
it's basically just plastic surgery. It's not so much a face swap as reconstructive surgery.
Well, okay, so the elf, all you'd have to do is like dye his skin.
Uh-huh.
So for him, you'd be like, oh, like that's like an easy-ish thing. It's however much the cost of the dye and however long it would take. The orc, you could cut his ears and insert like some cartilage from something else and get him the pointy ears, and again dye his skin. So that's not too bad.
May have to
But the
remove
fucking
his
Khajiit,
tusks.
You're gonna have to shave his ass.
You may have to remove the orc's tusks as well.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Can't forget the tusks.
I mean,
That's like the best feature.
it's full reconstructive surgery, so it'll probably be more expensive for the Khajiit and the orc than it is for the wood elf.
Okay. How much would
69 seconds.
How much would I charge someone like base price? This is super easy. I don't have to change too much.
I'm trying to remember how much the face sculptor charged in Skyrim. I think it was. I may be undershooting it, but I think it was like 1,000 septums that she charged.
Okay, I think that's what I was thinking. So I'll go one to the other, tell them what I would have to do, and then tell the wood elf and the other one I don't have to change too much. 1,000 septum, and then the orc and the Khajiit would be 1,500 to 2,000.
Because you're not telling him the body parts that you're removing.
The
fact that I those tusks is my price.
the Bosmer kind of sighs and is just like, "Oh, I don't have that much," and he dejectedly walks back to the camp. The orc and Khajiit, however, do fork over the money.
Zira is just watching. What is so wrong with people that they want to change themselves to a completely different race. How shameful!
Look, I am rich.
It's commitment. It's commitment, you know.
So you guys are probably going to be with this camp for at least 10 hours. Amory, you take them off into, like, they clear out a tent for you so that you can do your work. I would like you to make 4 medicine checks at disadvantage.
At disadvantage, Jesus.
At disadvantage.
Good luck. You're probably gonna kill some 2 cosplayers.
Okay, so 16 for the first one.
Okay.
Oh, nice. You're actually rolling well, dice. 18 for the second.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. 14 for the third. And 14 for the fourth.
Okay. So you head off to start doing a bit of surgery. Realizing that you've got some time on your hands now, what would the rest of you guys like to do with this group of fanboys?
I just want to say that I'm telling them about our adventures. Like, I electrocuted a giant skeleton. That one saved a big dog with foaming at the mouth, super rabid, just like in chapter 12. Don't mess with her. She has the strength of 1,000 bulls. We were about to fight like a very large group, and then she like killed all of them. And I was like, wow, I don't have
This
to do
whole
that.
time, Zira's just sitting over there sharpening one and like polishing her. Well, Zoe is like telling the stories of the shit they've done, and she just looks up when you're like when she notices that Zoe is talking about her and smiles, and then goes back to sharpening her blade.
So you're talking this up. Go ahead and do a performance check at advantage for me.
Okay, but I also just want to mumble, don't eat anything that one offers you. 16 performance.
They're eating it up. Some of them are even writing it down. The ones that are writing it down, after a little while, you realize that they're people who are gathering ideas and stuff because they want to. What this group is doing is they're actually looking for Narcissus Dren, who is rumored to be adventuring in this area, and they want to give him ideas for his writings. They want to see if they can make, quote, their adventures part of his writings. They're really enjoying your tales. They give a few oohs and ahs as you mention your battle with the skeletal colossus. They occasionally interject with questions and stuff like that. Ashanti, what are you doing as they're all...
I am horrified by this display of fanboyism. I need to wonder, is this some sort of role-playing they're doing? Like live-action role-playing?
You can ask.
Hey, guys. What's with the paint? What's with the hair? What's with the fanboyism?
A teen Imperial looks up at you and says, "Oh, you haven't read?"
No.
Like you haven't read the holy word.
I have not read the good word.
Have you not heard the good word?
And he just, oh, you're missing out, man. And he comes up to you and he pushes into your hand a graphic novel.
Oh, God.
It's a doji. It's like it's a doji.
You kind of you page through the pages a little bit and you realize it's an adventure story of this dark elf who goes on delves into ancient ruins and stuff like that to find lost, buried treasures.
I'll steal from him later.
With all of these like harrowing tales of danger and heroism and stuff like that. And if you'd like, you can make an insight check regarding the story that it's telling.
I
But-
rolled insight.
Okay.
I got nat 20.
You're pretty sure that these tales, like even the ones that have been adapted, you're pretty sure that they're talked up quite a bit. Like you've heard people come back to the sanctuaries talking about these quarries that they had to kill, and they just talk it up like it's a grandiose adventure. And this sounds a lot like that. Like there's even this one scene where Narcissus Dren is kind of dodging through dwarven traps and stuff like that in ways that you're pretty sure a dark elf's body shouldn't be able to move.
And
Hey,
he has like some gay undertones with like high elf war that he fought one time.
Huh. Hey, listen. It's all nice. It's nice and all to listen to some good stories, but reading too much of this might rot your brain, kid. I think you need to go back to school. Go to
Oh, well-
work. Maybe
well-
follow one of the 9 divines. Listen, I need to help you.
I need to
He's-
help you.
he just
Please,
like-
you're going to fan them too far.
He just looks at you. He says, "Oh, I'm fine. I feel like I'm in the favor of Vivek and Sothasil. And any adventures that this group goes on, I know that I'll be in the warrior poet's embrace. And just these are the gods of the Dunmer that he's talking about. And he goes back to chatting with some of his friends in the group, and they are, in fact,
Fellow
all
Band
gathered.
Aid.
They are all gathered around a table, kind of rolling dice and such. It looks like they're playing a role-playing game of some sort.
Oh my
A
god.
bunch of
Are they playing
nerds.
D&D?
What's that?
Are they playing D&D in D&D?
Yeah, they're playing Dunmers and dwarves.
Yes!
God, what a bunch of Joey and like kind of whispered
That
to
one
himself, like,
Imperial has
God,
an
what a bunch of
beard.
nerds.
And Zoe, your ears perk up at the mention that they are looking for Narcissus Dren. Because even in the prologues of the books, like, and the introductions, like, for instance, Narcissus Dren and the Lost Notebook was penned by Narcissus Dren. And you know that, like, from what you've been able to learn from these guys, like, he is, in fact, a famous dark elf adventurer who writes about his exploits. He's considered the most famous and daring adventurer of this era. And sure, and yeah, he's definitely out still adventuring and such. So, rumor has it that he's here in Rothgar right now, looking for a ruin to find new treasures in.
Whoa, radical.
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 Amri,
Hmm?
you start with the Khajiit.
Yes, I shave him.
You shave down his
Good.
face, and with that 16, you're able to easily reshape his ears and work a little bit of magic so that his eyes look like dark elf eyes. And then you give him a potion to kind of sedate him a bit, and you begin your work. You bring out your scalpels and knives and such, and begin kind of cutting here and there. From outside the tent, people can hear just a few loud taps and then a crack as you begin reshaping his bones and like moving them into a more elf-like position. And you go through, you sew his face back on and whatnot. And by the time he's done, like it's rough because it still needs to heal a bit more, but he looks a lot more like a dark elf now. And an extra side effect of the potion that you'd done had turned his skin a nice deep ash black. And he steps out all proud from the tent, looking a lot like a dark elf. His movements are still very much so Khajiit, and he still has a tail. You couldn't really remove the tail without throwing off his balance. But, like, you send him out with kind of instructions on how to care for his face while it heals. And people are just oohing and awing. And the orc sees this, and he's so excited as he walks into the tent. And so he lays down, and you begin your work. You begin by giving him the sedative, because first things first, you need to remove those tusks. And you're going through, you're tapping, trying to work them out, but they're more deeply embedded than you expected them to be. And you end up getting most of one of the tusks out, but it breaks as you're trying to get it out of there. So you realize, oh, you're going to have to actually cut into the jaw more in order to be able to get the rest of that tusk out.
Okay.
But you're able to get it out. The jaw is somewhat misshapen now, but you're pretty sure, like, moving around some of like the cheek fat might be able to pad that out. And so you begin working on the face. Again, the potion changes his skin color, and sedates him. You redo his hair, you reshape his ears so that they've got even more of a taper than orc ears normally do. And begin the facial reconstruction on the bone. But you didn't anticipate orc bones being as dense as his are.
Oh, shit.
Hey, us orcs have like some pretty neat bones. We always like drink our milk and stuff and work out.
Milk drinker.
Eat
all the booze.
So it's
and eat our
taking.
grain. Hey man, milk is super healthy.
It's taking
I will take whatever time I need to do this right.
Yeah, so it's taking a bit of time, and the sedative begins to start wearing off, and you guys can hear coming from that tent just screams of pain.
Give him more.
You give him more, and eventually the screams subside, and people are just like, "Oh my gods, ugh."
Change your mind yet?
And after a while, he kind of stumbles out of the tent a bit, looking sort of like a dark elf. There are way more stitches and stuff that he needs to take care of. And it looks like he's clearly in a lot of pain. And you make comments to him as like, be sure that you're only eating softened foods for the next couple of months, because of all the jaw work that had to be done. So on and so forth. And he, through the gauze in his mouth, he's like, thank you.
I write down the list of what he needs to do because it's a lot longer.
And he heads back to the main campfire of this camp out and starts drinking very strong whiskey to dull the pain and kind of sullenly munching on just this watery porridge.
Oh god.
Do I have like some sort of potion that'll just numb him?
It's still in effect. The pain's that significant.
Oh, okay.
You fucked this guy's whole world up.
You basically broke every bone in his face.
Yes, I need to do like the good pain medicine.
I'm sorry, where's your PhD?
And a couple of the Khajiit in the camp out offer to spike his porridge with some moon sugar to help ease the pain a bit more, and he gratefully accepts.
Oh,
You like
how
the
nice.
balls.
Poor guy. Just let him rest for a bit, guys. Can't leave him alone.
But despite the setbacks, like you're high elven attention to detail is most definitely there. And so
Even
after
through yaoi fan art.
oh, there's definitely fan art that these guys have and they are exchanging and stuff like that.
But it's yaoi fan art.
There is some yaoi. There is some like regular fan art. Some fan art where the people have inserted themselves into the story and stuff like that. I mean, this is a veritable circus of people. But Zoe, you are
Full on nerdlings.
Zoe, you are eating this up. Like this is one of the best things you'd ever encountered. Like people of all races from all corners of Tamriel just getting together and having fun and sharing their love of this common thing that they all have. You had never seen that on the streets before.
Anime brings people together.
you're so much more used to people being all cutthroat and doing anything they need to survive, and here these people are sharing things with one another, caring for one another in this common interest that they have. And the sun's beginning to set, and you guys kind of agree with them that it's probably best that you stay the night with them before continuing on your journey. And so the sun begins to set, and some of them even set up these large platforms